November 19th is recognized around the world as International Men's Day. It is a day to raise awareness about the issues affecting men in our society and, of course, to celebrate their salient contributions. To commemorate this significant event, we at the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs proudly present our second Things I Wish My Father Would Have Taught Me, a series of short, engaging, and meaningful conversations amongst men from all walks of life during the month of November. My name is Rita Arundel, and on behalf of the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, I would like to thank you for joining us. Today I'll be speaking with Mr. Alston Lawrence on what he believed that his dad should have taught him about relationships. Alston, welcome, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be here.
Thank you for having me.
And,
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And before we go on, would you please introduce yourself?
Oh, me?
For the listening and viewing audience.
My name is Alston. I've been in media for a long time, so I run a little media company. I also have worked in Parliament a couple terms or 3 terms, and I'm all around kind of guy. I definitely have a lot of experience in the NGO world as well. I consider myself an activist, and I'm usually on top of things, and I love to talk. So I'm also a radio personality, as you know. So that's me. And I don't always know who I am at what time. Like right now, I'm trying to see what's falling off and what's sticking.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's part of the
That's
evolution,
an
right?
honest way to say it, right?
Part of the evolution, right? Okay. Now, let's jump right into it. What are some of the things you wish your dad would have taught you, or a father figure would have taught you about relationships?
Oh, wow. It's a heavy question. I would start the question really when I look into myself in what he did teach me that really did stick. So my father is much of a charmer. And I saw, and I could tell you one thing that really pulled very strong on my life is how my father treated my mother, or how my parents let us see their relationship. You know what I mean? That is extremely important. My father also is not a home guy. He liked to be on the road, and he took me on the road. I learned what a man should do about serious relationships with my father. You know, and I know he was very cognizant as to what I am experiencing and not experiencing, you know. My father taught me, listen, marriage is a good thing. If marriage is a funny word for some people, and commitment is a very strong word, and it should be very important. You should think a lot, it should be important. You should think a lot about who you make very strong commitments with. And that's my father's side of the family. That's my whole family, but we're talking about my father. That's my father's side of the family, and that's hard. My father has 4 brothers, you know what I mean? So you see that pattern of what a father is. I knew what a father is before I noticed what a man is, if you understand what I mean.
I do.
I also knew that not everybody had that. I also knew that. I also knew that your uncle could be that role. And my father and his friends, and let me say it like that, what he definitely did teach me was whatever you got is yours. You know what I mean? Even what I wish let me continue quickly there. My father, I know we would get to a question about breakups and stuff like. My parents were never really deeply into my relationships, but of any of my parents that really had a strong say in it would always be my father. My father taught me, this who you with? Okay, I with them. He's very accepting of family and our decision, my decision as a man. I also learned call, my father had some times where he would be out of the country and he would always call home, say hi to each other and hi to his mom, So that part about relationship stuck with me. I was always, I love relationships, I love love and all of that, but I always knew like, okay, I want a particular type of commitment to go the long run with. And I've been married twice. The second one seemed to be holding on good. So. But the first one ended because of this same thing I'm telling you, which is, I realized this no longer can go that long run. I need a family. I need a family. I want kids. I'm a loving kid guy. So to go that way, I couldn't go with the first one, and that was the major part of the breakup. So from my father, what I wish he would, boy, we from a different time, bro. We from a real different time. And I can't really think of things I miss I can't really think of something my father could have taught me about relationships that I would have just hear he say and be cool with. I'm an explorer myself, so I would take it, but nothing steered that boat, because he taught me to be you, be an individual, and be strong on what you say.
But based on what you experienced growing up,
Yeah.
right? And of course, when you enter the dating scene, the dating world.
Can we talk about romantic relationships, right?
Yes, right? When you enter the dating world, perhaps there were some slight differences that you said, well, whoa, I wasn't prepared for this. This is not what I saw coming up. So how do I handle this now? Based on your own experience.
Yeah. I was never too shy a person. That's one. Let's start there. Two, coming up, I always knew, listen, take it slow and be careful. I always, the dating scene was not something banned in my house ever. It wasn't super encouraged either, because I'm the oldest. I have, I'm an example. So I just learned to take my time and go slow. Also, the type of friends you have. I'm not the one that, if all my friends saying, boy, you seen that? That's who you need to check. I was never about a hype. I always was never about the rumors about people either too. Especially when we're coming up as teenagers, it's really rude here. People get rude. They see a girl walk with you and they're together. I never understood those things in the way everybody else did. We all looking on TV and we seeing people dating, but when we hear, as soon as you touch somebody's hand, you're together, you're married, you're going all the way, and I never understood that. So I waited until I just observed how I went along learning about relationships. And then when I went to the Netherlands, I met more people, and I always, I'm a Virgo moon. That's always a concern of mine. I'm very technical when it comes to my emotional energy, say it like that. And I learned that at home too, because my parents have books. My mother have books, and I pick up books. I don't read fiction, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the books then that would have helped you to?
Books about being an individual.
Yes.
I remember a book my aunt gave me. I was probably 12, and it really broke down the person. And me and you, we grew up in a very conscious time in our community, so we spoke a lot. A lot of us spoke a lot. And when it came to relationships, I always realized, and later in life, it reminded me that your relationships and your emotional energy have less to do with who. They have to do with you. You got to learn who you are, what you want. Not just take everything. The biggest thing me and my friends in Holland, the biggest thing they ever learned about me when it came to relationships is just say no. If you don't like it, just say no. We hold on like, oh gosh, this person I meet here got to go all the way. So we start not looking at important things. You start not being real about what's going on. And that's another thing I learned from my father. He's very practical, very, very practical. If something not working for you, why? And I think that's one thing we lack here about relationships. People aren't really mature about it. Not that they don't have the capacity to be mature about it, but there's not enough discussion to dialogue to learn.
Explain that.
There's not enough discussions, especially amongst men, about relationships. It's still very old-fashioned and taboo in one way, but that's not the reality. And that's for real. That's for real. I have friends, and I haven't hung with them in a while, so I ain't calling no name, but a lot of my friends, a lot of my male friends struggle. And I was like, what are you struggling about? They're struggling because, you're living this two-life thing. You don't have to do that. Know what you are about. It don't matter who around. It don't matter if it's this girl or that woman. It really doesn't matter about them. Whatever your actions is, come from you. And that's with your emotional energy as well.
But what do you mean with a two-life thing?
Two lives. Sometimes, there's a face and they put on for home.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole other life without that. You're even jokes. You could tell a joke here, but if your wife there, you're going to tell a joke. That kind of thing. We put on a facade in our relationships. And this has always freaked me out. They put on a facade in relationships. So the person who you sleep next to, the pillow here, your pillow here, you go to sleep vulnerably next to somebody who don't know you. And that's a problem.
But could it be...
So
to
get back to the original question,
go ahead.
That's why I always knew the commitment I wanted for a long time had to be somebody that could open up and trust me, and I could trust them. I also learned Real love is freedom. Real love is freedom. Real love is not possession, and whatever that means to anybody. And those are major life realizations and downloads that I got, and I always share with my friends too. And I always tell them, you're not happy if you can't be yourself around your best friend or your closest person. If you sleeping with your eyes closed next to this person, you should just be honest. They love you, then they're gonna love you being honest.
But maybe they love who they think they know.
Even that.
Okay.
We have to be honest about loving ourselves too. We spend a lot of time trying to be around people, but we got to know ourselves. You ever know somebody who they one kind of person when they with this person, but when they were the next person, the next kind of person? What I tell you, they just mirroring around trying to find a them that they like, and that ain't cool.
In your opinion, what might be a reason, if any, that men don't have enough of these conversations amongst themselves?
One, men anymore, and I'm being careful how I say this because I think now the world is doing something else with this. Men never had a place to. There's not enough spaces for men to speak about the emotional side. You know what I mean? That's why now in the media, the world is having a problem with people telling men what you is. Yeah, you could be a she, you could be a he, you could be whatever you want to be. That is possible because people don't know themselves, and men especially, they don't talk about the emotional side. I could tell you when coming up, you talk about love or you talk about feelings or, a man call you something, and so much time passed, we can't even say those words no more. They were normal then though, but you can't say it now. So it shows that a lack of maturity in that side of men in general in Caribbean has still taboo. Still taboo.
Wow.
I think now people are seeing things differently, but it definitely growing up is still very taboo. And for what reason? That's another thing. Why should men think about that side of them?
Fear?
Yeah.
Vulnerability?
Or survival. You need a woman, right? So you got to figure out something.
Or maybe
that has happened too.
Could it be that some men are fearful that
men are definitely fearful.
No, wait. They are fearful that what they would have confided in their partner will be weaponized against them in the heat of a discussion.
Yeah.
For example, do you think that's a legitimate concern?
Yep. Men need to trust somebody. Everybody should trust it. Everybody should have a confidant, somebody that doesn't judge you and you could talk to. Because, it's a side topic, but men are the ones committing suicide left, right, and center. You know what I mean? And that's because that's not because not one thing, but therapy helps, talking to people helps, getting it out helps.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the example you gave that persons sleep next to each other, but you don't know the person who you're sleeping next to.
I find that a very dangerous thing.
But then how did we get to that point?
Because there are old values and roles that say a man and a woman in that sort of relationship, she don't need to do this and he don't need to do this. We are very non-committal in the important things and committed in very other, how we look to the neighbors, how we look to the joke. We have wrong priorities when it comes to relationships. If people understand what a relationship is, they would start to break it down and process to them. What is a relationship? You're sharing energy with people, friends, siblings. We all have these links of energy that we share with each other emotionally. As I was saying before we come here, when you see a lot of violence in a community, the men don't like women. They don't really like women. When you see a lot of violence against women, men don't like women. They sexually like women, but emotionally are cut off to them.
That's a very heavy statement. I can
it's
imagine.
Heavy. I didn't say they are homosexual.
No.
But I'm saying that men know how to love their boys. A lot of men know how to love their boys. I don't for you, but listen, you get in a jam. Listen, bro, I need you. Ideal. These normal words we're saying right now, but we don't look at it that's an emotional relationship. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But there is a lack of balance when you have strong emotional relationships with your boys and not your partner.
But could it be that there's a sense that there's more loyalty amongst men?
Is there?
I'm asking.
In my experience, women are very loyal as well.
Yeah.
Men are very loyal as well. You know, women take a lot of nonsense from men and stay. You know, for kids or for whatever other reasons. That's loyalty too. You know, and that's loyalty against their own self. They don't want to be there, then stay there.
But could it be then that, let me say for example, like what you said.
And loyalty comes from knowing how to love. That's all it is now. So when you say boys are really loyal, they know how to love that. They know how to show love to my boy. My boy need me, I dare.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that is there, that is loyalty. You're reacting on the love you have.
Yes.
That's all it is.
But this is what I was coming at, right? So let's stick with the same example. Man goes and asks a female to borrow money or whatever have you. Do you think that it might make him feel less than a man because he's asked the woman he's supposed to be providing for, he's now asking for could it be that he's feeling a type of way, for lack of a better words, because of that?
It could be.
Okay.
And that's real. People get married and have to, or get together and are committed, and we tend to slip into traditional roles without discussing them. We need to discuss roles, you know, and a lot of relationships get together and the man never discusses whether I am going to be the breadwinner and you're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And that's the only reason you feel shame to really ask, you know. It's because it's not a normal thing. And it shouldn't be a normal thing, I think, if you like traditional rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But listen, shame and judgment and jealousy and all of these things, we need to have for other people, not home. Home's supposed to be safe. Your committed partner need to be safe. That should be a safe place. Will Smith, funny, but Will Smith said, funny that Will Smith said it. He said you should never, ever, you should always forgive your committed partner if they made a mistake. These days, people make mistakes and you don't even check if it's a mistake.
Cut off.
You know what I mean? And men are afraid to make mistakes. And I could tell you got to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
But why are men afraid to make mistakes?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But this is why we need more discussion.
Okay.
And people are not afraid to make mistakes, but if you are afraid to make a mistake in a particular commitment, you know, in a particular relationship you have, you're afraid to make mistakes. When men are afraid, they hide that part. And in that hiding, in that darkness is when all the wrong things has happened. But you got to open up. You got to open up to who. I'm not saying open up. I'm not even saying everybody should open up to their committed partner, but you should have a confidant. You need to have a safe space, somebody you could talk to.
Yes, I get that. But I just want to backpedal a bit because, again, I'm just wondering, is it that some men are fearful of making mistakes because when they make a mistake, the type of accountability that falls on their lap, could it be that, you know, they just don't want that type of...
we all generally, the Caribbean, generally have a problem with accountability, generally. Okay. And for men to be accountable, it's harder for men when everybody knows what's expected of a man. So if you know, listen, we don't do this here, you know, I want a man with a job, I want a man who could take care of fixing the house. If everybody knows that's what a value, then you're fearful of not meeting that standard. You could also set your own standard and just make sure that all needs are met as well. You know, you shouldn't ever be in a corner in your relationship. That's what I'm saying. You know, so if a man is feeling this way to ask anything, he got to evaluate why he feeling this way. Talk to the person. If they love you, they get to a point here of understanding you, because we all real, you know. My father, I used to look at my father like he's Superman. I never had a lack for anything I wanted. And but I knew not to want everything. I knew that everything had a consequence. I knew you work hard for what you want, you know. And when it came to relationships, I had that same thing. If I'm going to keep it real, if it ain't working, it ain't working.
Yeah.
I also learned a lot of fish in the sea. And from my father, I learned a lot of fish in the sea, but that's my fish. That's my fish. I go hold on my fish.
But that sound very possessive.
No, I serve in that fish. That's my fish.
Okay.
You understand? I'm taking care of that fish. It ain't my fish, but it's the fish I choose to be around. It's not possessiveness.
No, that's a very important distinction to
but
make.
you see how it
and I'm
crosses the
glad
line.
you brought that out.
You see how it gets great. It gets great at the time.
Yes.
You could be committed to someone and don't own them. You understand? And you must allow people to grow. A lot of us get married young. When you get married young, you got to realize you ain't finished growing. So you got to allow this person to grow. You can't tell them we're going this way only.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where there's a little conflict. Sometimes religion is quoted that way, you know, and puts women below men. And if you really don't know, we slide into this macho thing. Men are better than women, stronger than women, da-da-da. Woman must shut up and just do that. You don't want no woman who just shutting up and doing what you want to. We don't want that. Men don't look for that. Don't ever look for that.
What do men look for?
Because you would never go to war. You would never go to war with somebody next to you who don't know you, don't know how to protect you, right? Who is afraid of you, don't respect you. They just fear you, respect and fear, you know? That's a difference because this person don't. You have to empower your partner across the board, you understand? Even your boys, let's jump there quick. You got to empower your boys. If you have a relationship with your friends and you ain't getting better, think about it. Same with your committed partner. That person got to know you. Got to know all the dot, know know where you could go and where you can't go and know what you like and don't, because that's the person going to ride for you. For real.
All right. And earlier you said something that I thought was quite interesting about having that discussion about the roles, right? Now, in my observation, my humble observation, sometimes it seems as though that step is skipped.
It's always skipped.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we have the butterflies or we are excited and everything
NRE,
is new.
New relationship energy.
There you go.
Is drunken
in. Right? And then when it wears off, then the reality hits.
Yeah.
You know? And then when the discussion come up, it would be like, but I didn't sign up for this, or I wasn't raised that way, or like what you said, I think that was key. You are mine, and you know you can't. What do you mean to go exploring and looking for yourself? What's wrong? You have a midlife crisis?
I know some boys stop playing ball because they get with a woman.
Well,
she don't want you playing ball, you know. So and you find out these things in the most awkward ways. We need to have those discussions. Men, take relationships serious. If anybody get that from me, take it serious. You're sleeping next to somebody who, that's vulnerability, bro. You understand? So when it comes down to it, we need to think about it. I recommend to people when they're getting in a serious commitment to draw a contract, write up a contract.
You mean like literal pen and paper?
Yeah. Keep a file. I do it with my wife, seriously. We keep an open document that you could write on your phone, I could write from my phone. And you need to keep your boundaries there. You need to keep the things we agree upon there. You need to hold each other accountable. You understand? And we don't do that enough. That's why relationships fail so easy here.
But what happens when one partner just fails to accept accountability?
That's life too. Then somebody got to make a decision. You decide to stay and it go down the road. You try change it. You can't change it. They don't want change. I would say. Your self-happiness is important.
Tell us more about the contract.
Yeah, so this is a real thing too. This is about 20 years now. When it, in the States, it's used to have this whole big divorce thing. So at the divorce, you go and you pull up at the end. What do you call it when they divide the assets? Prenup.
Yes.
People started to do these things called family contracts. So these family contracts just detail at the beginning of this marriage and commitment, what are the things that go end it and how we're going to end it.
Yes.
Yeah. What are the things that go end it and how we're going to end. That's where you learn your boundaries. That's where you learn she boundaries and your own boundaries and your discussions happen. And you got to take time and do that. You got to really take time and do that with each other in private, you know what I mean? Because if you see this person is important, give it some time. And about the feelings, the feelings are crazy. Everybody get into it for those feelings. And everybody should know they're going to wear off. But what you have after that. So you have to use that time still to build and make good decisions in life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you see, or maybe you've heard conversations that people on St. Martin are using that method?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know several people that, I know a lot of people that have the discussion. As much as we talking about relationships, again, it's about your individualism. How well do you know you? How well do you know you, and what parts of you are you working on? What parts of you do you accept and ain't changing? Because that's important to somebody who's going to share life with you.
And what about those men, right, who just, for lack of a better word, unable to have those hard conversations with their partner? Like you talked earlier, the feelings can change. You understand?
Yeah.
Whether romantically or whether it's part of the but the feelings have changed. Instead of communicating that, we just see all sorts of behaviors, right? What advice could you give a young man, who's struggling with that, don't know how to start a conversation with his partner?
I would say this, young man, you going to be your biggest hero if you tell the truth. There's a saying, all is fair in love and war. And too much of us go through unhappiness because we're afraid to have that conversation. You need to have that conversation. It might turn out better than you think. But you need to have it. If you don't have it, you're eventually going to have it. Maybe screaming at the end.
So
that's really the truth.
Pick your pain.
Yeah. I'm all about this. If you're going to share a life with somebody, don't have them stupid. Don't have them stupid about you. Also, don't make them think because you're like that they control you either. Don't control them either. But try to share some things. Your most intimate circle must be there, and that shouldn't just be sex. You understand? So who knows your dreams? Who knows those are the things important to life and love still, Dreams, how you had when you were talking about money.
Yes.
Those things important between people too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You got to know which level who on and what they want to do together.
Right.
So about that tough conversation, have it. Trust me, you're going the next day, you might feel, man, nobody likes to see somebody cry or make somebody cry.
Yeah.
Right? By the end of the day, you did it for yourself, and it's going to end up continuing that way in life, and it's going to lead to your success, at least emotionally.
Yes.
We don't take care of ourselves emotionally enough.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming down to the end of our conversation. So I would just like to ask if you have any closing remarks, maybe helpful books that young men can read.
Any book about individualism is important.
Okay.
Also, I would encourage men to look at the different types of relationships out there. There's not a one way or one form to relationships. Also, I would also encourage people to think about roles. Don't assume that person knows what they want. It's usually different. And do what's best for you and keep you happy. You know what I mean? That's important. Right. A man who's not happy is an angry man. That leads to a lot of other things. And if you got 200 of them outside,
Yeah.
And lastly, I must say this.
Yes.
Because I'm a girl dad too. We got to take care of all we women. As men, we need to take care of women. We need to take care of them, meaning not just your woman, your partner woman, your daughter, anybody mother, anybody auntie. Women in general in St. Martin, I just feel we don't respect them enough.
Okay.
The way you see people treat them, the way you let things happen, and we could do better.
Okay.
That's a man thing.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that. Give thanks.
Big man thing.
Yes, sir, just so. Well, Alson, thank you so much.
Anytime, my brother.
For your reflections. We really appreciate it. And I think, again, as I share with the past guests, we definitely need to have a follow-up.
Anytime.
So I'll have to beg my colleagues at DCOM to, free out some time for us, right? But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Thanks for joining us. And we do hope you enjoyed this conversation. Take care and all the best.